Okay. Uh, cool. So we have about 40 minutes left, and I'm going to randomly play some of these files and listen to, we'll talk very, very briefly about them. Well, I'll give you my comments. And if any of you have any questions, please feel absolutely welcome to interject and ask a question. We'll go through these super fast. This is exactly what we would do in a typical casting session. Just crank through the auditions. Um, I'm sure many of you have heard the expression, like, you'll know it when you hear it. And that's sort of what happens in this case. Like, we'll hear 3, 4 seconds of something at most, and we'll say, okay, yep, pass on that person, or this person is pretty good. And a given time, I may spend a little bit more time on one or two of them toward the end of this. Maybe someone who might be like in that short list pile. Maybe we'll go back to them and listen to a bit more of their content and talk a bit more about their reads. I have now a whole lot of these submissions, so I'm just going to one here. I'm going to hit play, and we'll listen to a few seconds of it.
On this day, this American holiday, we are celebrating the rights of free laboring men and women. The preservation of these rights is vitally important.
I like this guy's voice quite a bit. I like his pacing a lot. But quite a few words are slurred. I'm hoping some of you noticed that. If you didn't notice it, you need to listen a bit more carefully. So let's go back and listen to those first few seconds again, and I'll show you what I heard was slurred.
On this day, this American holiday, we are celebrating the rights of...
Listen to the end of the word celebrating, okay? Tell me if you hear that it's slurred.
We are celebrating the rights of free...
Can you guys hear that the sort of the ing is sort of lacking? Okay, let me go to the next person here.
On this day, this American holiday, we are celebrating the rights of free labor.
The G is missing on celebrating also. Not as bad. What I like very much, well, what I said about the first person is I really like their voice. I really like the fact that he read with no tension. Again, talking about the first person, no vocal tension whatsoever. Very relaxed, in a lower pitch range, which is terrific. That lower pitch range shows confidence. It shows fact. It's more trustworthy. It's the way politicians speak. It's the way news anchors speak. When you have, or same with narrators on documentaries, when you lower that register, it gives a very trustworthy. It garners trust to the listener. It really does. And so that first person had it. This woman who we just listened to about 2 seconds, she also, I like her voice a lot also. Let's listen back from the beginning.
On this day, this American holiday, we are celebrating the rights of free laboring men and women. The preservation of these rights is vitally important now, not only...
Interestingly, her same words are slurred. And let's see if that becomes a common theme. Did you guys notice that the word important was quite slurred?
Yes.
Yeah, hopefully all of you did. Listen back. I just backed up. You'll hear the word important coming up in about 2 seconds.
It feels rushed.
Yeah, well, all of a sudden, about 1 second back from where we are right now, her pace picked up a lot, which was strange. Yeah. There is something terrific. And in fact, I'll go back to the beginning and play it so you can hear that sudden and abrupt shift, speed change. It didn't make sense to me. I like her pacing a lot in the beginning. I like her phrasing a lot in the beginning. I like how she emphasized American. I like her voice. Like the guy who read, she's relaxed. She's in a natural pitch range. A very, very good read. Celebrating was a little slurred, but then she gets to the word important, which is very slurred again, like the other gentleman. This is like the exact same read as the first guy, just with a different person. When we cast, it is very, very common that when we cast, we hear the same issues from voice actor to voice actor. I once heard someone in our casting department say, which something that's always stuck with me, and I think it's hilarious. They said, David, when I'm casting, I know what the next person is going to sound like because everyone sounds the same. Like everyone does almost the same thing. And we'll see if this happens today. So let's play. But again, sorry, I'm saying two things at once. That doesn't work. I like the first guy in many ways. I like this woman, her voice very much in many ways. A couple of things concern me. Let's go on to the third person here. So take a listen to this.
On this day, this American holiday, we are celebrating the rights of free...
Did you hear the word celebrating pick up pacing?
Mm-hmm. Yep, big time.
Yeah, big time. I love that word, big time. And so when we are casting, especially for many of the long form projects that we have, we don't want to have to go through and proof listen to everything. It's great if we can just have a voice actor and we can trust it, right? And we can trust that they have self-directed them through that particular project. We're 3 seconds into this read and one word just races. That is a concern, okay? Something I do like about this guy's voice is the same thing I liked about the other people. Low pitch, even pacing, other than the word celebrating. But that first impression is so critical, guys. The first impression is absolutely key. It really is. Let's go on to someone else here.
On this day, this American holiday, we are.
My first thought is that she's a little tentative with her voice. By the way, do you still see the home screen for Edge Studio, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. I think we might be in good shape now. So the first word seemed a little tentative to me, which is alarming right off the bat. I shouldn't say alarming, but it would make me want to move right on to the next person. Listen back to that first word. It's a little tentative.
On this day.
Can you hear that sort of hesitation in her voice? It doesn't come in. So one of the things about a speech like this, like think about it, guys. Here, in fact, a great question for all of you. What emotion do you think would be appropriate for a speech like this? And keeping in mind, we don't know the application. We've not talked about the application. We don't know if this is to be played to young kids in grade school or older students in college, or maybe it's on a documentary. Maybe it's a
Maybe gravitas.
great word. Yep. What else?
I was going for reflection and persuasion.
Yeah. No, you guys are good. Yeah. I like these words very much. I think something with some like a stronger, clear voice right out of the gate to grab the attention of the listener. This first word does not do it for me, especially if it's mixed with music. Listen.
On this day.
On this day, there's a little hesitation in there. Make sure that first impression, that first word nails it. On this day. Big difference there. So where she kind of had an upswing on this day, I would have directed a voice actor to come in with even some emphasis on that first word. On this day, that grabs the attention of the listener.
On this day.
It's a fantastic technique is to clarify, in fact, the first word of every script. And on certain scripts, I'll tell the voice actor to do that on every paragraph. On some scripts, even every sentence, and occasionally on every phrase within the sentence. Value that first word. Take that first word of the sentence or the paragraph and give it some emphasis, some clarity. On this day. That word "on" is a really small word. It's very easy to rush through. It's very easy to rush through it like this. On this day. But with music in the background and the point of this, the reflection, the gravitas that we need, that is lost. So you can all practice giving that first word some clarity. On this day. Okay, let's go on to the next person here. You know what's also interesting, guys? As I look at these files, most of these are labeled FDR speech and things like that, Labor Day challenge. Few people, very, very small percentage of people have their name in the file name. And for the people who put their name in the file name, thank you. For everyone else, you really should think about your file names. It's so helpful to us when we are casting, when we're hiring voice actors, when we're hiring people in our office. It's really helpful to have a super clear file name. First of all, it's another chance to brand your name, right? That alone is clear. And if I want to save someone's file, if I say, oh, I'm making up a name here, John sounds great. Let me save John's file. And it's labeled FDR. So now I hit save and it's under FDR. If I want to find John's, I'm going to look under J for John, not under F for FDR. I can go and rename your file, but why make me do extra work? It's really nice to just start with something in your file name that recognizes your name. Okay. Anyway, so let me play this next person here.
On this day, this
little hesitation on that first word, right? Can you hear it, everyone? Listen back.
Yeah.
On this day.
On this day. That's the difference. You can all practice this at home. You can take an opening of a sentence and sort of read it with some hesitation to kind of make your brain aware of what it sounds like, and then read it confidently with some clarity in that first word. And you do that back to back. The first way I mentioned with hesitation, the second way with clarity. You do it back to back and trains your brain to hear the difference. It trains your ears to hear the difference. So the difference is, in fact, this is what you can practice at home. On this day, on this day. And that's the difference. That's what we're looking for. I want to hear someone say, on this day, just and like grab my attention right from the get-go. Let's listen to a bit more of this.
This American holiday, we are celebrating the rights of free laboring men and women. Celebrating the rights of free laboring men on this day.
Listen to the words we are celebrating. Tell me what sounds a little weird about it.
This American holiday, we are celebrating the right.
Well, I think it's like a New York accent in there or something like that. Sometimes accents are great. I don't think for this we didn't call for this particular challenge. We didn't say we want an accent. We don't want an accent. So it's nothing wrong with it, of course. I'm just pointing out that if you are listening carefully, you should be able to hear these things.
Rights of free laboring men and women. The preservation of these rights is vitally important now.
This is, in fact, so far, every time we've played up to the word important, people have slurred through that word important. Listen back to how he said important, and then we'll move on to the next person.
Vitally important now.
Okay, you guys hear that? But I have another person open here. Let's take a listen, guys.
All right.
On this day, this American holiday.
Can you guys hear that?
Low volume.
Yeah.
Barely, it's very quiet.
Yeah, it's very low. You know, there's something that I've learned briefly about why loud sounds better. But people do like loud, right? Most people like loud music and whatever. It's easy to hear. And when we are listening to files, if we have 20 files or 100 auditions or 100 auditions and one is lower in volume, it's sort of like a turnoff. It can cause certainly, I want to say this differently. Certainly whoever's casting can turn up the volume. But that does three things wrong with that. Number one, it's kind of weird off the bat. Like why is your level so weird? Why is it not industry standard? Number two, if we turn it up, then we have to remember to turn it down before we get to the next person, or we'll blow our speakers or blow our ears. Number three, if you have to turn up the file so much, very often you're bringing up noise, sibilance, mouth noise, background noise, whatever is in the background of your microphone. So it's really, really important to get that file size. The recording volume up. So I would not even listen to any more of that. I would just move on. Let's just take a listen to a bit more, though.
On this day, this American holiday, we are celebrating the rights of free.
Also goes very fast on the word celebrating. We're finding some very common themes here. Celebrating is slurred, tends to be fast. Important is very slurred. Again, that volume is just too low. Let me see, Roger, what I have here. I see your file size is huge. It is 9, 20. It is 3.5 times larger than so far the largest file I have opened.
Well, so I use Audacity. Is there something I'm doing on my end that's wrong?
Evidently. I can't go into that right now. That would be that's a technical question, but I would definitely look into that. Yeah. That is.
So who would you recommend?
Art Bruder is a guy here at Edge who specializes in Audacity.
Art Bruder?
Art Bruder, yes. Okay, here's the next person.
Laboring men and women. The preservation of these rights is vitally
also very low.
On this day, this American.
And she emphasized the word on with nice clarity. On this day. It's a very engaging way to begin, but it's so low in volume, it really makes it hard to like cast someone like that. I'm going to jump to the next person here. This is what we go through when we cast. You know, sometimes you wonder like why files are not listened to. You're seeing it firsthand. Okay, I'm opening up this next person right now. So if a file is too big, it takes too long to download, let's just move on. If a file is too low, let's just move on. You're hesitant on the first word. Let's just move on. You slur a couple of words in the beginning. Let's just move on. Here's some things which are critical. The beginning of your file should have about a 1/4 second of space, blank space. Okay, so instead of having your slate or the first word of the script be at 0, have it be a 1/4 of a second into the audio. That's because some audio players lag. When you hit play, sometimes it takes them just a moment to get going. And if the casting professional's audio player does have that ever so slight lag, then giving them a 1/4 of a second buffer will make all the difference in the world. That means that your first word may not be slurred or rushed or jumpy. So that's a really good thing to do. Have a 1/4 second at the other end of your audition. Make sure when you were done speaking, it's done. The file's done. No blank space at the end. We get a lot of auditions that have just dead space at the end. And we get a small percentage of auditions that have a lot of blank space in the beginning. It's just not the ideal thing to do at all. Okay. Let me.
So wait, you're saying a quarter second at the front and back of dead space?
On this day.
A 1/4 second in the beginning. You don't need anything at the end. A 1/4 second at the end, it would be fine, actually. But just like a quick fade out. A lot of, you know what else? A lot of people have their too much space between their slate and the read. So if you're asked to slate on an audition, a lot of people will say, "Hi, this is David Goldberg." We wait, and then you get to the audition. There should be like maybe a half of a second between your slate and your audition. "Hi, this is David Goldberg." Then your voice is going for your audition. Yeah, move these things along. Okay, next person here.
On this day, this American holiday, we are celebrating the rights of free laboring men and women.
Okay, I'm going to try to talk about some other things. Celebrating was also slurred here, like it's been consistently. One of the key things you could do in reading, guys, is connect words that belong together. And I'm hearing lots of pauses. I've not even spoken about this, but just about every file that we've played so far has had more pauses than necessary. Connecting your words is key. Put words together that belong together. You don't need to pause so much. I feel like you're all adding more commas. So a couple of quick thoughts on this. Number one, there's a huge difference between written English and spoken English. Written English has tons of punctuation marks. Spoken English does not. I want to repeat that. In a written script, there might be 10 commas, but when you read it as a voice actor, maybe you should take those 10 commas and knock them down to 0, maybe 1 or 2. In other words, to translate written English into spoken English, which is your job, means that you should disregard some of the punctuation. I'm not saying all punctuation, and there's no steadfast rule on when to disregard a comma and when not to, but use your ears, use your judgment. If a comma typically is appropriate in written English, but wouldn't really be natural in spoken English, you too can probably get rid of that comma. And a lot of these reads we are hearing are choppy. Like, for example, in this guy's file here, we're at about 8 seconds into it. Let's count how many pauses there are.
On this day,
1,
this American holiday,
2,
we are celebrating the
3,
rights
no,
of free
3,
laboring
4,
men
5,
and women.
6. So 6 pauses at 9 seconds. Maybe 1 would make sense, maybe 2, but I don't think that there needs to be 6 pauses in 9 seconds. You think about how many pauses there would be all the way through an entire script. It's just too much. Let's try to go through 1 more or 2 more really fast here. Now that person said the WAV file, and I don't know if our instruction said MP3 or not, but I'm going to jump to an MP3. Most auditions are MP3s, almost always. You should always send an MP3 unless instructed otherwise. So we did not specify, so I'm skipping on the WAV. That's another reason that we would just like pass on someone. And I feel bad sometimes, like someone put thought and, took time to audition and we're not even going to listen to it. These are the things, I repeat, that we go through when we cast. Like just about everyone in the industry does when they cast. Okay, we're down to one last one I'm going to play. And while this one is opening, any last questions, guys?
Speaking of volume, David, what would you say is the optimal normalization? Is it -3 to -1? Still leaving a little headroom, or?
Yeah, that's where I like it. Minus like 2, minus in that area. Yeah, there are still some old school people who say, minus 12, and but important, very important. It does change on different genres. Audiobooks, especially platforms like ACX, have very precise requirements for levels. So there, like everything in this industry, there's no one magic number. But unless specified, yeah, I feel like -2 is fine. Many years ago, -2 was scary because the machines, the playback machines, had no headroom, and so like once you got to 0, like it distorted and clipped and sounded horrible. And these days, the machines can take it. There's even anti-clipping software now, which is cool. Let's listen. Let's listen to a file
On this
here.
day.
Here goes. Wait. Here goes again.
On this day, this American holiday, we are celebrating the rights of free laboring men and women. The preservation of these rights is vitally important now, not only to us who enjoy them, but to the whole future of Christian civilization.
A really interesting read. Very different, right? This sounds like an old-time radio address, which I sort of like. We did not specify the style that we want. It's certainly very engaging, which is really nice. It's a big part of casting. Maybe this is like the best thing to take away from this session. One of the biggest parts of casting is for you, the voice actor, is to include personality in your read, because we get a lot of sterile reads. I said this toward the beginning of our session here, and I repeat: if we have 50 auditions, 45 of them are going to sound the same. They just will be virtually identical, different voice, different person, different accent maybe, but the read is the same. The performance is the same. The dramatic pauses are in the same place. The speed fluctuations are in the same place. We can sort of read along with each subsequent audition because we can expect what they're going to do. And when you come at this with something that is different, something with personality, boy, that puts you at the top of the pile. So maybe what you can do when auditioning is think to yourself, what is everyone else going to do? And then try to do something different. Make sure you are really captivating on that first word, right? Before I use the word engaging, I think that's a better word. Just make sure that first word just grabs the listener's attention, engage the listener to listen to more, and give some personality. And then listen back to some of the things that we spoke about. Make sure that your voice is smooth, right? Make sure you're pronouncing words correctly, if appropriate to pronounce correctly. Make sure your files are named well. Remember, like I said earlier, with your name in them, like all of these things in totality add up. They really make a big difference. So that's our little world of casting. You know, like I think seeing it from the other perspective might help you do a better job on your auditions. So yeah, any thoughts?
We just appreciate you for doing this.
Oh, my pleasure. I appreciate you for being here.
A lot of good nuggets.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'd like to. I think we'll do more of these. I like this. I think it's a really good format.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know, we have a script reading contest every quarter, and it's free. And I think that when we break down the winners for that, and the winners win prizes, first, second, third place win prizes. I think maybe we'll do the same sort of thing for that contest. The end of the quarter will be September 30th or 31st, whatever the end of the month is. And so maybe a few days after that, we'll do another one of these.
Good.
Be very helpful.
Yeah, really.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I wish you all a fabulous end of the Labor Day week, and hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions anytime, you can call our office. We are always happy to help any way we can.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
David.
you. Thanks. This was very good.
Oh, good. Glad it helped. Bye, guys.
Have a good one.
Good night.
Night.